Hey everyone, welcome into Talkin Grizz, sponsored by Wiseacre Brewery Company. I'm Kelcey Wright Johnson. Joining me today, all the way from Portland, is Brooke Olzendam, the courtside reporter of the Portland Trailblazers. Brooke, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun. It looks beautiful there.
It is hot. It is hot in Memphis.
A little too hot?
A little too hot, but I'm not going to complain because I can complain when it's cold too. So
Same.
So the first games are happening in just a few days, July 31st. The NBA is taking no time putting the big matchups right at the beginning. That means we've got the Portland Trailblazers and the Memphis Grizzlies up first on July 31st. From your perspective, coming from Portland, how important is this very first game, especially being against Memphis, who's in that number 8 spot when both these teams are essentially fighting for that spot?
It really couldn't be more important because it's right off the bat. You want to set a nice precedent for yourself with these 8 games. And of course, it's against the Memphis Grizzlies, even more important of a rival, if you will, especially a rival right now. And so I know they want to come out of the gates on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders. They've been really prepared even throughout this time that they haven't been able to practice together. Everyone is kept in shape. Everyone very excited to come back. And one of our big storylines, I'm sure know, is the return of Jusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins, 2 of the Blazer starters who, had pretty terrible injuries. And Nurk, as you remember last year, a terrible leg injury where we're just surprised he was even walking for a month after that. But he put in the work. He's ready to go. He was actually supposed to make his debut on March 12th, his big return. It was a national game. It was home. Yeah, and then he didn't get the chance to do it. I know. Yeah, but the Grizzlies and the Blazers, it's like, we're very simpatico this year. It was always talking about you. You guys are talking about us. It's so interesting to me. But yeah, so he's coming back. He'll be back. He's 100% healthy, as is Zach Collins at a shoulder injury, the 3rd game of the season. So they're very excited. And I know they're not just there. Dame talks about all the time. We're not just here to play a few games and then head home. We want to make an impact. We want to get to the playoffs, and we want to make a run in the playoffs. And especially with the return of those 2 guys, and now you have Hassan Whiteside coming off his best year of his career, and you got him as a backup. I mean, that's pretty nice. So yeah, that first game is of the utmost importance, and I know that they're just really excited to start playing real games again. You guys mentioned the 8 games, so we'll be broadcasting those, which is great, but also they are going to have some scrimmages. I'm sure you guys are too, and we're going to broadcast those. So we'll get a chance to see them play each other, which of course they do all the time in practice, but kind of get that feeling of a real game, under their belts, especially in this weird kind of environment they're in, or different environment. So game 1 is very, very important.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned the play-in games and the seeding. That brings me to my next question. So the narrative coming from the Memphis side is that we don't see the Grizzlies necessarily losing that number 8 spot within the seeding games, but that the play-in tournament is very likely against one of 2 teams on the top of the list. I'd say Portland and the Pelicans. So I want to hear kind of from your team's perspective, when you go into this, you talked about what Dame is feeling. What's kind of the whole vibe and the whole hope coming from Portland?
Yeah, the vibe is, going into this as an improved team than they were during the regular season. And they really kind of were coming on stronger at that time. Gary Trent Jr. really started playing excellent basketball because the team was dealing with so many injuries. Other guys had to step up, and they did. So I know that the goal, as I mentioned, and Dame talks about it all the time, and Carmelo mentioned it on the Zoom call 3 days ago, that, we're not just here to see the guys and get out, see guys from other teams and play a few games. This is still the regular season. I know it looks different, but it is still a season that's very important to them. And I know they feel like they have a lot to prove. And it's going to be crazy. I know that they really, they don't just want to be there. They want to be there and make a huge impact. And they're focused. I mean, I mentioned it to you before we started. I think that, they are all in great shape. They kept each other accountable throughout this time. And they want to win games, and they really want to make the playoffs. And I don't want to jump ahead. Don't think I am. But if I see, hypothetically, if the Blazers were to win the 2 play-in games and make the first round of the playoffs, of course, it would be against the Lakers. And, a big win for the Blazers this year was down in LA against the Lakers. It was kind of one of those games they looked back on and said to themselves, look, we can do this. So it'll be interesting. And no matter who gets the first round of the playoffs, taking on the Lakers. But I know that they feel pretty confident if that does happen, that they play well against the Lakers. So it could be a very interesting matchup. And I know a lot of people are saying, with the guys coming back, that a lot of teams probably don't want to see the Blazers right now because they are definitely, I wouldn't say new and improved, but they have their base, which is Dame and CJ, and then you throw in Melo, he's moving to the 3, and then 2 guys coming back that are 100% healthy, that are huge parts to this team. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Nurk and Zach play with those other three coming back, and then watching the guys come off the bench. They really got a lot of big minutes this year because of those injuries.
This is my favorite storyline. Like, I could talk about it. Unfortunately, we can't, but we will see you July 31st. We'll be broadcasting the game here against the Grizzlies. Brooke, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
All right, everyone at home, you can get more coverage of the Memphis Grizzlies on grindcitymedia.com.